Okay. Yeah. It says doctor. I'm not going to question it. Bernice. Dr. Krolos Hanna, do you hear me? And lastly, Mina Megid. All right. So, have a seat, I guess. All right. So, each person obviously has a microphone in front of them. We'll start with Dr. Krolos. Introduce yourself kind of briefly, who you are, and then what do you do for a living, and then we'll go, and then, yeah. All right, Dr. Krolos, go ahead.
Sure, I think there's only one Krolos on this panel, right? So you're talking to me?
Yes, we're talking to you. Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Okay, I see Matthew in the front, so he can guide me. Hey, good evening, everybody. Good to see you guys. I mean, the camera quality isn't the greatest, so I'm not really sure who's sitting with us. But if most of you are high schoolers, I probably don't know many of you or knew you when you were really, really young, and you look nowhere near what you looked when I probably saw you when you were 4 or 5 years old. But Krolos Hanna, pharmacist by training. I grew up in Nashville. You guys probably know my parents, Dr. Samir Hanna and Dr. Rif Awad. They attend San Verena and Saint Mina and maybe some other saint churches that I'm not even sure with the number of churches we have. I went to school in Florida, down in Tallahassee, with actually many other Nashville natives. Post pharmacy school, I did some residency training, and I primarily specialize in oncology or cancer care. Over my years in pharmacy practice, I did a lot of work on the clinical side of things, and also over the years I moved into the administrative side. So my current official role is I'm a director of pharmacy for a practice here. I live in Minnesota. I didn't mention that. I met my wife and ultimately moved myself up here north. But I'm the director of pharmacy for a large practice here within the cities. We're 12 centers within what we call the Twin Cities, which is the capital of Minnesota. And I also do a little bit of education at Mayo Clinic at their College of Medicine. So I have an assistant professor role there. So certainly happy to help answer any questions tonight as they relate to pharmacy or career path as it relates to pharmacy, because I think there's a lot of misconceptions or just a lot of unknowns as people think about pharmacists and what pharmacists do. So definitely looking forward to this, and I think this is a great opportunity for you guys.
So I'm not going to say much, but my name is Mina. I pretty much studied frequency change aviation. I wanted to become a commercial pilot, and I finished that, and now I'm working on becoming a flight instructor for frequency change aviation. That's good.
Hi, everyone. My name is Bolab Shea. I am in mental health. I am a therapist by trade. I own and operate a private practice where we have other therapists working with us. My education was a master's degree from Trevecca. But prior to that, had an undergraduate degree from Lipscomb, as well as MT, in psychology and religious studies. I want to correct, he called me doctor. I'm honored and flattered, but we're only master's level.
My name is Berenice, but people call me Bernice as well. That's the English version. I studied social work in college, so I am a social worker. I have my bachelor's and heading, or hopefully, getting accepted into grad school for a master's in social work. I'm currently working as an immigrant youth transition specialist for Metro Nashville Public Schools. And I do a lot, but I think we're going to get to
that. My name is Kurolos, and so I graduated from MTSU. I went to MTSU for my bachelor's. I got a bachelor's in computer science first, and then I graduated with that in 2018. Got my first job out of college 2 weeks later after I graduated in Memphis, so moved there for about a year and a half, then moved back when I got another opportunity back here in Nashville, and I've been here since then. When I moved back, I decided that I was going to also pursue my master's, so I did my master's while also working. So, and it was also from MTSU, so now I have my bachelor's and my master's in computer science, and yeah.
I guess I am Moses because I feel old next to these guys. My name is Ihab Habib. I'm probably one of the original people here in Nashville. When I first came here, we were like 5 families. I got my bachelor's degree in civil engineering, structures emphasis, but I got it from Egypt. So in Egypt, I graduated with bachelor degree in engineering, civil engineering. When I came down here in Nashville back in 1990, before all of you were born probably, or you were little kids, I see lots of doctors here. They were my Sunday school kids a long time ago. I got my master's degree in engineering, and I got my doctorate degree in leadership. So I have a variety of experience. I took on so many positions since I've been here, and probably I have the most experience here, but currently I'm in a retirement age, so I'm doing consulting, and I do my own projects. I do development, and I do construction, and I do fiddle with design. But I took on positions like structural engineer. I designed so many bridges here in Tennessee that you're still driving on them, hopefully. And I worked lately as the city engineer, project engineer for Facebook in Gallatin. So I was working for the city of Gallatin. And then I took a position of director of the city of Clarksville as a for public works and engineering. And after that, I just, through all these years, I've had my side job. And now I'm kind of in retirement, and that's what I do most. And I enjoy doing every bit of it, so.
All right, so this is a general question. We can either have like a hot panel where question from me, or you guys can be free to kind of give key insights on your fields, or we can start with misconceptions. So I guess, Dr. Hanoi, we can start with you because you briefly talked about misconceptions in pharmacy and kind of the field of oncology as well.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think that's a really great point. And I think, many of us who may not be familiar with the field of pharmacy, a lot of times the pharmacists that most of us or our families come in contact with are the people that you see when you walk into a CVS, a Walgreens, or a Publix, or a Kroger, right? So one of the biggest misconceptions around pharmacy is that you have this healthcare provider or healthcare professional who's standing behind a counter counting pills by 5s or 3s or 10s or whatever your talent is. And you're having to run to the phone, you're having to do drive-through, you're having irate patients coming to your window. While retail and those pharmacists are extremely valuable in the community, because you'll find a lot of patients who may not have access or resources to go see a physician or go to a hospital or a clinic. Their first person that they will oftentimes go to is the retail pharmacist because it's free. They may be underinsured or non-insured, and they'll come to us with multiple questions. So it's certainly an extremely, extremely important role. But pharmacy has endless opportunities in terms of being able to specialize or subspecialize. There are pharmacists that could be oncology pharmacists, like for me, for example. You could be a hospital pharmacist, infectious diseases, psychiatry, pediatrics. Ultimately, if you name it, you'll find a matching specialty within pharmacy. Oftentimes it requires a couple of years of added training, like residency training following your schooling, because schooling, while it prepares you to how to think like a pharmacist, it generally doesn't prepare you to be a specialist in one particular area, but you get the core basis and the foundation of how to be a pharmacist. So I think just to keep it short and brief, and I can certainly answer a lot more about this if people have more questions, but it's that misconception that you will be at a CVS, a Walgreens, or whatever, where you could literally be anywhere that healthcare is provided in most cases.
Any of the panelists also have major misconceptions in your fields? Bernice, go ahead.
Yeah, so, I'm sorry.
With social work, the biggest misconception is that we take kids away from their parents. We do not do that. I mean, we do, but there's more into that. You are looking into the safety of a child if you're working with like foster care or something like that. So you would be removing the child from a home if they are in an unsafe environment. So that's the only reason. We do not just go around snatching kids away. So that's the biggest misconception, because social work is also a very big field, and it has, I know we will get more when we get to networking a little bit, but it has, you can have a lot of jobs within social work. It's not just working with kids and stealing them away and never giving them back to their parents.
So a common misconception with just being in tech is that you don't have to interact with people much. A lot of people believe that you just, you get some tasks to do, you just do them in front of your computer and you're done for the day and that's it. And that's just far from the truth. Most of the time you're spending your time in meetings, talking to people, interacting with people. If like on a regular day, maybe like half the time of my 8 hours, I'm spending them in meetings talking to people, if not more. So that's a common misconception. Just you're not gonna have to interact with people much, or if you're introverted, you wanna be isolated. I wouldn't suggest it.
Any more misconceptions? No?
There's, for like people that are trying to get into aviation, aviation is such a beautiful field and it's such a big field. The thing is, like, people think, oh, you get your private pilot, khalas kida, like, I'm going to Delta right away. It doesn't work that way. The way it actually works is just like, you get your private pilot, and then after you get your private pilot, you have to get you what they call an instrument rating, to where you're pretty much, we call them foggles. It's like they cover your eyes really, and you're primarily looking at instruments, which technically kind of teaches you guys to fly in clouds. And then after that, you get your commercial, pilot license. The thing is, where people have confusion is just like, they think is, oh, you get your commercial pilot and then you can work right away. It's true to some extent, but the FAA usually wants to see X amount of hours before you're able to get to, if your goal is, for instance, airlines versus corporate, they have different hour requirements. And by hour requirements, they mean like when you're a pilot, everything is all about your logbook. Logbook is where you're recording all your hours, and within all these hours that you're recording, it's almost like you have to make sure you keep maybe a copy of all these, hours, these records. And other than that, pretty much just knowing that it's such it's a long way to go. However, it's very, very worth it. And not to say actually, like, you can find low-hour jobs, but in order for you to be able to do so, in order for you guys to find these low-hour jobs for pilots, you almost have to go to maybe Florida. You might need to go to Alaska and see where there's a lot of opportunities for low hours that are being asked for you to become a pilot for that specific company.
Okay, so if I was your child and I am a senior in high school, and obviously I'm in a generation where undergrad is kind of useless because I want to be a successful either real estate agent or some social media influencer, what key piece of advice would you give me? Each panelist, please answer it.
I think I want to answer the last question too.
Oh, so I'm so sorry.
You're okay. One misconception is that we're doctors. We're not. So another piece for therapy, a lot of people assume that you come in and we tell you what to do. We're not allowed to even tell you the statement, it's going to be okay, because we don't know. And so one of the big pieces, we never tell people what to do. And the biggest part of our job actually is to allow people to hear their own voice, allow them to have the space to discover on their own and grow. Another big misconception is that we just sit there and listen to problems. The whole time I'm sitting and listening, it's like a puzzle piece. I'm learning the person's personality, their attachment, their background. What are their qualities, love languages? What traumas did they have? What did that induce? And I'm connecting the pieces in as a puzzle. So the whole time they're talking, there's a lot that's actually working. And it's not just so that they can come and tell us their problems and we try to fix it, or I take it on. One of the very first things they teach you is how to put up boundaries and what separates me from the person in front of me. To answer your second question, if someone is coming out of high school and hoping to do a job without a degree, I think is essentially what you're asking, right? I think in this day and age, with this generation, it's very common to see that. How much people can make out of that easy lifestyle. But you have to ask yourself, what is the future or the potential? And what is the risk of that? Do I have something to fall back on? If I were to shut down my practice or lose my job, I have somewhere else I can go. I can always be hired. I can go work at a hospital. I can work at somebody else's practice. I can work somewhere else. The other thing is, what is my goal in that? Is it simply to make money or to have a greater purpose? So I don't think you'll find many people that are in these fields that are just doing it for the money. You would get so burnt out so quickly. You have to have a passion for it. And so the question is, what am I benefiting out of that? Where do I go? What's my growth like?
Others, each panelist. So this is your child, okay? So, because,
I guess I'm the father, you guys didn't. Still. So just a few things that I noticed and I couldn't pick on. Misconception that if you were a doctor, you must be a health doctor or you're a real doctor, like what my daughters tell me. You're a doctor, but you're not the real doctor. Everybody can get his doctorate degree because it's just another level of education. And the misconception most of the people that they have is, no, I struggled during my bachelor's. How could I go for my master's? Or how can I go for my doctorate? Any career that you pick, you better be very good at it, or you should be the best at it. I used to teach in college. That's when I got my doctorate, and I was teaching students. The best students that I remember are the smartest students and the dumbest students. So from the lower end all the way to the higher end. These are the only two people that I remember. The middle people, I barely remember. And you know why? Because you have to be very good and you should have a passion on whatever you want. And as Paula said, if you're in it for the money, you'll make money. You'll make lots of money, whether you're getting $25 an hour or you're making $250 an hour or $400 an hour. So if that's your goal, that's not a real goal. People who sell drugs, they make money. People sit on social media, they make money. So money is not satisfying at the end. And your life is just gonna be written. So in the book of life, لما تروح كده لكرايست at the end, تقول له, what did you really do? So what exactly were you here on earth? Who did you help? So you need to have like a higher level target. Money is not one of them.
any more of the panelists?
Yeah, so if I had a kid and they were thinking about not going to college, that's the question, or just making money on. So I'm not going to speak about like the money-making aspect of it, but I'm just going to open your eyes to something that's that people don't often consider when about college and schooling, and it's like the social aspect of it, right? You're not just going to college just to get a degree, just to start making money and to have a future, right? There's one big unspoken, I guess, factor about college. It's just the social life, the amount of connections that you build, the people that you get to know. And you just graduated out of high school, right? You don't want to sort of like grow up too fast. You want to first build those connections and then start moving up into the world progressively. And I think college does that for you, and it gives you that opportunity. I guess I say that because one of my regrets that I took from college is that I just attended my classes and I didn't socialize, I didn't connect with people, and when I look back on that, I see that as my biggest room of just room for opportunity where I could have grown and could have made a lot of positive just characteristics out of it.
And the thing I'll add, and maybe I'll play devil's advocate a little bit, but a lot of the things that were said, I think I agree with too. I mean, I have two boys, a lot younger, you know, a 4-year-old and a 6-month-old, but you know, 18 years from now or 14 years from now when it's time for that, I mean, I think having the foundation of a college degree in whichever career path you elect, I mean, definitely choose a career path that aligns with your passions. And there is an ample amount of opportunities where if you like cooking, you can get a degree in culinary sciences. If you like healthcare, you can go and I love what Ihab said about the doctor aspect doesn't have to be, you know, primary care physician at Vanderbilt. I mean, you can get a PhD in almost anything you want at this point in time, but build for yourself a foundation that if you elect a career path or an opportunity presents itself to you that doesn't really require a college degree, you want to have that foundation to fall back on. I won't try to spin it into a religious aspect and the impact you have on people. While I understand this is certainly a church event, and that's a very, very important part of what you do. You want to be a positive impact on the community and the people that you serve. But, you know, just don't rely on some of these things that can, you know, present themselves as a good financial or economic opportunity, but you want to make sure that you build some type of foundation to fall back on, because society is extremely unreliable, right? I mean, look at what's going on in society. Did any of us ever imagine we're going to go through 3 years of a pandemic? That's unfathomable. I mean, no one ever, that's things you hear about in the story of Moses, right? Any of us here, any of us, you know, just what you hear going on in the administration and politics and so on and so forth. So build yourself up, I'd say, for success. And then it doesn't prevent you from also pursuing whichever career path that you elect, even if it's not in alignment with the degree. So just kind of my 2 cents there. But there's certainly a lot of opportunities out there where you can be financially successful. And it's not all about the money, as I have mentioned, but you can put yourself and your families and your kids in a very, very good position without a college degree tied to it. But if something was to happen, you don't want to have limited yourself when you're 40, 45 years old and you no longer have that drive or bandwidth to try and go back to school.
I work with teenagers. This is my 3rd year working with teenagers, and I hear a lot of the becoming an influencer. I'm not going to bash that dream of anyone. I just don't think that's the one way to go, because look what was about to happen to TikTok. We follow a lot of these influencers who made a career sort of thing out of TikTok, and then in one day they shut it down and they were all panicking because they had nothing to fall back on. Also, like, if you want to be an influencer on social media, why not become an influencer in your community? That's a lot more powerful, because on social media, I can watch it through my screen and just be motivated for a few minutes, a few hours. Then maybe I'm just gonna, I got motivated by this person cooking this very healthy bowl, and I'm gonna go make it, and I made it for one day, and then I'm not gonna do it next week. I just got motivated for one day. You can do this if you just find your passion in your communities, and then you can share on social media. So if you get your degree, I've always said college is not for everyone, but that doesn't mean you're not made for college. It's harder for some people to get through the college path, but everyone can get through it if you work hard for it.
All right, we're going to move into really specific tailored questions. I'll start with you, Dr. Hannah. So I follow you on LinkedIn, and I see all that you do. And so can you kind of speak a little bit more on why it's important to continue your education while you're in your career, and also the aspect of networking?
I can't speak to the importance of networking. I can't speak more to the aspect of networking as it relates to your professional career growth, and that's not just pharmacy related. That's in every single career. Networking is extremely important, whether you do it through conferences or meeting with people or going to college. I think somebody mentioned that earlier in this panel. Going to college builds you a network, and you can meet buddies and friends that aren't even in your specialty at college. Then 10 years you run into them, and they've grown their own company that indirectly can help you in whatever line of business you're doing, because they're looking for a new, chief pharmacy officer or whatever the case may be. So networking is extremely important to build yourself up. I think for me, within the medical field specifically, I was very passionate about oncology. My mom had cancer. I had a run, with things. Had a lot of really good friends who, unfortunately, died to cancer. Some have made it through. So there were a lot of things that have happened in my life where I always knew I wanted to be in healthcare, because I know my family was always in healthcare, but I didn't know if it was pharmacy or an MD. And ultimately, when I learned more and more about pharmacy, I loved it. So when I got into oncology, I started to find out I'm really passionate about certain disease states, certain cancers more than others. I really enjoyed the mechanisms and the drugs and so on and so forth. So I started to invest myself more into those disease states. And one of the very first things I started to do out of college and into my professional career was starting doing research and actually publishing in those particular disease states. Publishing, and any career or in any field, you can publish. You can publish on aviation. You can publish on anything. On bridge building, like you had mentioned. So you can publish, and when you publish in reputable journals, you automatically become what's called a thought leader, a key opinion leader, and people want to come to you. How do you think Ehab is a consultant? He built his reputation, he built his career, he built his name over time. That automatically, by itself, starts to then build your professional network when you make those significant contributions in your respective field. This is not pharmacy-centered by any means. So for me, one thing led to the other. It was really my passion for oncology, so I picked something that I love doing, my passion for particular areas of oncology that I found myself really intrigued by, and then contributing to the field. How do we advance the field? And then it's endless. I mean, the opportunities that present themselves now to kind of let you guys know. So I have a job here in Minnesota as part of a health system. But I am usually on a plane 2 to 3 times a week because pharmaceutical companies or organizations or whatever the case is, they fly me out. They want to speak about a certain thing. They want to speak about a particular project just because they value my opinion or my perspective because of the years that I've kind of was able to build that. Just about 3 weeks ago, someone flew me out to Amsterdam, and I was in Amsterdam for 48 hours. So you can build your name, you can build your brand. It's not health care specific. But also, to the question that was asked, and I'll stop here because I want others to chime in too. it shows you the value of social media. Social media is extremely valuable in building your brand and getting your name out there. And it doesn't have to be TikTok. All I don't have a TikTok. I watch reels and I do all that and I laugh at it, but my career is usually through LinkedIn. I mean, LinkedIn is a great platform to brand yourself, market yourself, find yourself a job, and have people find you, because, you know, while publications and stuff get your name out there, some may not find you. And you know, so that's also an opportunity where I think it demonstrates also the value of social media, and how you can brand yourself.
Follow-up question to Dr. Heb. You're an entrepreneur by nature, though, so you talked about how you have a career daytime, but then you're an entrepreneur and a consultant outside of that. And so kind of, can you speak about that spirit?
I'm just going to add some stuff to the previous question as well. I'm not an entrepreneur. I just lived my life. And as you live your life, you're going to have fork roads. So shall I go this way or shall I go that way? So nobody has really a clear vision. After I finished college, actually after I finished high school, I was one of the top students in Cairo. And I looked at my dad, he's like, what are you gonna do? I said, I don't know. So back then I didn't know. So when I'm sitting at your end, if I'm finishing high school, nobody knew. But one thing I used to tell my students when I was an advisor for lots of students in college, if you pick a career, don't hop from one to another. Stay focused on your passionate one and the one that you really like, even if it's a doctorate or if it's a business aspect or it's engineering or anything like this. But throughout your career, you're gonna gain lots of knowledge. And as networking is the most important. You could be the smartest person working in a company, but if your personality sucks, nobody will like you. So I've seen people they have very good personality. They are not average people. They are not the smartest. The smartest people, they usually carry the load of all the work. But the smartest people are the one who networks. And they become the bosses, and they become the CEOs. Do you know in hospitals, the CEOs usually are nursing degree, not doctors. Like not the original, that you think that hospital people should be run by the doctors themselves. The CEOs usually, they are business people or nursing or anything of this. What happens with this? The doctor sees the patient and he runs. Who networks with all the patients? The nurses. They are the one who tends to them and they look at the other business aspect of it. So networking is very, very important in every field. Now, choosing at your career, as Carlos said, you know, like when you guys have families, you don't want to just have a job from 7 in the morning to 5 p.m. If you have kids, guess what? How much time do you want to spend with your kids? You don't want to just be waking up every day, 7 in the morning to fight traffic, come back 5 or 6, so tired, go to bed, see your kids in the weekends maybe, unless you're working overtime. So you have to have these goals, and that's where the entrepreneurship comes to. When I was working as the director of the city of Clarksville, I chose to resign. I was over 3 divisions in Clarksville because it was consuming me. I was over 180 people. I have to tend to every pothole in the city. In the middle of the night, or the mayor is asking for something. There was a lot of money in there, but I wasn't happy. When was I happy? When I was doing the things that I really love and have passion for. And as Carlos said, you know, when you publish things, you become knowledgeable in these things. Do you know over here, like, why there's a good doctors and bad doctors. These doctors, they practice and practice and practice. God bless them. So they become good doctors. Now, if you go to any Egyptian, they are doctors, engineers, truck drivers, everything. They're all in one, you know, they know everything. But we specialize in things. So make sure that you live your life. You don't retire at 60 or 72 like for Social Security. No, prepare to live your life early. And don't forget to live your life. There's lots of people that will go out there, find work overtime, make more money, build this business, do this, and it becomes hectic. But have you enjoyed your age? Have you traveled? Have you made friends? So make sure that you live your life where it becomes meaningful at the end.
And Ahab, sorry, I just want to, you made a comment that I find really valuable around as you plan for your future growth, future wealth, future foundation. I've always been raised in the mindset to not rely, and while I say that to some capacity, it's absolutely okay, but I never rely on what I call the hand-me-downs from like a government perspective or the societal perspective, because you never know how things are going to change. I never relied, while loan forgiveness is certainly appropriate for many people, you have to, as you're building your foundation, don't rely on Social Security. Don't rely on 10 years for your loans to be forgiven. Don't try to build yours. And while God always provides, and I get that, but just from a soul career perspective, and as you build yourself up in a way where if everything comes crashing down, you and your family will be able to navigate through hard times. The amount of companies that went out of business during the pandemic, the amount of people that filed for bankruptcy, the amount of people that lost their jobs, no one ever expected that. So there can truly be things that come out of the norm. And absolutely at the end of the day, God will never put us in a situation that we can't handle. But I strongly encourage that mindset, and just make sure that you don't become stagnant or lazy in thinking those opportunities are there. Navigate them, but navigate them in a way that if they do come crumbling down, you can have a way out or an alternative, kind of like the forks in the road.
Mina, you were going to say something.
I was going to say something actually regarding, your second question, which I wanted to kind of clarify, which is aviation is a little bit different in a lot of the fields. And I say that because, like you said, Doctor, like you said, it's very, very important to network. That's very, very important. It's almost like it's one of the almost super old school, fields, to where like you have to go in person and give the resume and shake hands. But in regards to the college situation, what a bunch of people think is like, oh, you have to go to college first in order for you to get into aviation. And that is true to some extent. What a bunch of people are now doing, because it's all about hours within this specific field, hours means experience. Your experience is your logbook. So what a bunch of people do coming out of high school, and I learned this from a lot of the captains that I've spoken to, they go directly into flight school after high school, which is opposite of what a lot of you guys typically do. You go straight to college. The reason why they do that is they want to get the experience so much more in terms of hours. They get their flight hours until they get to like a building stage, just to where they're just building hours until they get to the airlines kind of thing. And then after that, what they do is that they take online college classes. During that time that they're just focused on not so much learning, but so much of that building their hours. They're just, okay, I'm gonna do college during that time, which typically takes about 2 to 3 years anyways. So a bunch of people get it done like within these 2 to 3 years. But if you're obviously considering, aviation, like I said, so many doors open. if you go in and shake hands, and it's very, very old school, but it's such a beautiful field to be into.
So I have one last question, and then we're going to open up for Q&A. Bola and Bernice, this is specifically for you guys. Doing a career path that's kind of not the traditional, oh, be a doctor, be an engineer, be a lawyer, or the like. Obstacles and kind of how you should navigate that if I want to be like an art teacher or something, you know, something outside of the traditional approach. So the question, how do you navigate that? Like, obviously, you faced obstacles wanting to be a counselor.
So I am originally from Mexico, and I am a first generation high school graduate and college graduate. So when I first came into college, I came in as a nursing major, because in my household, if you were a nurse, a lawyer, or an engineer, then you made it in this life. You did something good, you had an education. And nurses are great, love them, but that's not what I felt in my heart. That's not what I wanted. And I sat in for a whole semester of college, like trying to figure that out, how I would break it to my mom that I did not want to do this. And I actually remember at Trevecca, one of my mentors there, we sat together in the quad. So if you went to Trevecca, you know where that is. Because I was crying over a test grade. And he asked me, what did I wanted to do? This was so normal for him. He is American, so it was normal for him to, like, you know, go into whatever field he wanted, and his family was going to be proud. But for me, it was like the end of the world. So as we sat there, he just asked me, what is it that I like to do? And I started explaining I loved helping people. I love advocating. I love, one of my passions is also my own story and as immigrants coming into the United States and everything that goes around there. So that's when he said, why don't you just do social work? And like everyone else, I thought, well, I don't want to take kids away. And then we're gonna go to summer. So of course I directed and explored social work, and I changed my major, broke the news to my mom. And all she said was, as a first generation, you're gonna make it either way because you have a degree in your hands. So it was scarier than I thought it was going to be. So don't be scared. There was a lot of prayer in between, and then here we are now.
I think there's going to be a level of apprehension regardless of what you choose. And so if you're going to choose something that you're going to do for the rest of your life, make sure you enjoy it. Make sure it's something you're passionate about. As far as the money, it's a big piece for a lot of us, and that's very moot. It's debatable. As long as you have a passion and you're good at it, there will be ways that you can make money. I think going outside of the norms is stepping into territory that is afraid or that is fearful. It's something that's new. And when you do that, you have to genuinely ask yourself why and what purpose. Where am I going after this? What am I doing? There's been so many people that I've seen where, okay, my parents want me to be a doctor. Great. 1 year in, 2 years in, they'll flunk out. Because they had this burden on them of, I'm doing somebody else's dream. I'm doing what somebody else wants, somebody else's plan. I'm not saying go against your parents by any means. But if you are going to choose something, make sure it's something you're passionate about. When it comes to this area as well, there's a really nice book I recommend. It's called The Defining Decade. And it's a career counselor explaining this decision. Over 30 years, she would counsel different people as they're coming in, making their career choice in college. She was a college counselor. In summary, when you're doing something, especially at this point, we forget that this will be the foundation for the rest of my life. When I'm stressed out at home, when the kids are acting up, when I'm sick, when whatever it is, I need to have something that's going to drive me. And so coming into this field, I was very intentional to find mentors, as many mentors as I could find, so that they can teach me the ropes, teach me the ways.
Sorry, I just want to chip in for something. I want to be clear that there is nothing called a bad job and a good job. So he's a lawyer. Oh, he did good. Oh, he's in business. Oh, he's terrible. He failed. There's none of this. And remember something, during your career, you can change all the time. So, but you have to have a passion for it. And great examples for you guys here in San Bishoy. You guys may have met with Abuna Mina. Abuna Mina was an architect before he became a priest. And Bishop Yusuf, Metropolitan Bishop Yusuf, he was a doctor and he became a monk. So basically, shift of careers is okay. Having a job and being good at it, it's okay. I'm talking about people, pilots. Pilots, I don't think they need any degree except 2 years or something like that, or more than that, but they need lots of flight hours. We have one of our community guy is the pilot for the president in Kurdistan or something like this. We have a lady that graduated from business TSU over here. She is the mayor in Chicago. So there's no shame of any work you do. When I first came over here, I worked for a Lebanese guy. He owns restaurants. That was his passion. The guy owned restaurants everywhere, and that's how he loved it. So don't be ashamed of any legal work that you do, okay?
Sorry, I also wanted to add something. You know, like you said earlier, you know, not being ashamed of something that's, say, for instance, not being afraid to change your fields. Before I even got into aviation, a lot of you guys may know I love nutrition and, you know, personal training, and that's what I was just kind of set on. This is it. This is what I love. The shift between that was, you know, like you said, passion. I had so much passion. I wanted to, like, you know, I loved nutrition. I wanted to, like, coach a whole bunch of people and get a bunch of people in shape just because I've been around that field. I went to go meet, you know, some of the top at this field. I would go to seminars where Arnold is there and I'm like, all these guys, and I'm attending. I wanted to learn from these guys. And I met some of the top coaches in the world. I was like, this is it. This is what I'm set on. But I do remember, you know, that transition between switching the two fields is like, okay, something's not right. Like, as much as I love nutrition and personal training and I'm coaching all these people, I still, there's something still left, you know, and I wanted to change, make that shift. And it was very risky, honestly, for me, just because I was like, okay, this is my full-time thing. Should I change it to that? Is it worth the risk? And honestly, after just being into it and just changing fields, I think it was very, very worth it. It's such a beautiful field, and that doesn't mean that I can't still do this on the side. This is my, so to speak, backup plan. Worst case, God forbid, something ever happens. And I say that due to the fact that every single pilot has what they call a medical. You know, the medical, first-class medical is usually given to you by an aviation medical examiner. If you lose that, you know, then you can't fly for hire anymore. So therefore, it's almost like, oh, you spent a $100,000 career on, like, you know, this field, and next thing you know, you can't fly anymore. Is this how this kind of goes on? So it's like, it's always good to almost like have a backup plan, you know, but at the same time, it's definitely worth changing. And the passion, don't be afraid to, as long as you have passion for something, just don't be afraid to change.
So we're about to open it up for questions from the audience, but also when we go downstairs to network, let me tell you guys what networking is, because I'm a product of network. I wasn't the smartest person in the room. in the sense with IQ, but I was the smartest person in the room to realize who I should speak to. There were some rooms I couldn't go in because I didn't get an invite, so I became the valet, or I became the server or something. So use your mind. When you go downstairs, all these people have experience, and everyone here. A lot of them are people that inspire me, and they should inspire you. Ask them questions. Don't be shallow. What do you do for a living? And then move on. Figure out how did they get there. So that's what I'm asking you guys, is not professionals, but people who are about to enter the career of professionalism. And then any questions for our panel? Anyone? I know I saw some of the high schoolers walk out, but anyone else, girls? Boys? George.
With the invention of AI, what do you think is the effect it's going to do on healthcare and engineering, or just technology in general?
I'm assuming this to me, right? With the introduction of AI, how that's going to affect engineering, and a lot of people say that AI will just replace us all. That's far from the truth. AI will need always, improvement, and we'll need people to work on it. So there's that. But as far as other industries, I believe that it will enhance and it will help people. I use AI for every single task that I do at work. It helps me become more efficient. Can it replace me? I don't think so. I don't think that's going to be a possibility in the future. But here we are. We'll wait and see. But
Additional questions? Shall we head downstairs? Yes. Sorry, I can't read your name tag. Marie, sorry.
Hello. I was wondering, how long did you wait between your bachelor's and master's? Because I know you have to do it quick enough so you don't lose your motivation, but you also probably want a little break. So what do you think is the right amount of time?
I'm a great example for this. Some people, they use the careers to go directly from bachelor's, master's, and doctorate, especially if you're in the medical field. Usually it takes you that way anyway. There is no time limit, and do not be afraid to go back to college and get, even if you get like 2 years. Some people, they get their associate degree and they think, oh, I can't, I went to community college or whatever, and they cannot continue their bachelor's. You can take now bachelor's online, you can take it on ground. So you're never old, and this is the beauty of the United States. In Egypt, overseas, our parents didn't have that much choice. They had to be cream of the crop for them to be accepted. Over here you can have master's online and doctorate online and everything online. So you guys have no excuse. Actually, I am a person that encourages everybody to get his education very young. You don't wait, because the longer you wait, more you will have a family, you'll have kids, your responsibilities are going to increase. So you want to get it as fast as you can. But again, there's no limit on time. The youngest doctors we have are within 24 years old, and they're doctors. And the oldest that I've seen, they were like 60-something and still getting their doctorate. But this is because of the passion, and you should encourage your kids, because education, in addition to it, that you're going through a field, certain field, it makes you like a very knowledgeable person, well-rounded. You're not just, if you don't talk to you about math, you don't understand anything. you know, or if you're talking about science, you don't understand that. Over here, you have to take art, humanities, physics, chemistry. I know all of you love calculus, but it's a must.
Any more questions? Or are we ready? Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I know that question was targeted towards computer science because you're in computer science, right? Or you're, okay. Yeah, so I personally waited about 2.5 years, 3 years before I got my master's. Here's the thing. If you're in computer science and you're planning on taking it all the way to like a doctorate or becoming like a professor in college, I would recommend just knocking out the master's right off the bachelor's, right off the bat. Don't wait. And like Dr. Ihab, yeah, like Dr. Ihab said, the longer you wait, you know, the harder it gets. You know, as you get older, it's harder to retain information. But when you're there and you're young, it's easier to just grasp ideas as they come. So in my professional career, I wouldn't say masters helped me a lot. You know, it didn't increase my pay by any means, or it didn't introduce anything that was new that would have helped me otherwise, but it did deepen my understanding of my industry. So in a way, that's a positive, but I wouldn't recommend it unless you're going all the way. Like I said, you're going to take it and get like a doctorate and become like a professor. And yeah, so that would be my recommendation.
So just one thing. How many of you guys know that at the teaching level in college is a master's degree? Do you all know this? No. So if you have a master's degree, you can teach in college. But if you have a bachelor's, you can't. You might be able to do it because of the experience, but you have to have little as master's to get that. But again, people with master's degree, they are not smarter than people with bachelor or associate. That's not it. They just had more education in a certain field. And the further you go up, the more smaller categories you're getting into, because bachelor is very general. Master's, you start focusing on something. Doctorate, you become very limited in a certain research. So this is just FYI. And you gain also edge when we're hiring. When we used to hire, if I have 2 candidates, one with a master's and one with a bachelor, guess before I see even their CV, like our secretary or assistant, she gives us the top based on their grades, not in grades in school, but this one has a master's from the get-go. So we're looking at, oh, he's smarter than the others. No, it's not. So
I'm going to say that, well, that's true, not for computer science. With computer science, you could have no degree, but they look strictly at your experience and your knowledge and how they will, when they interview you, they will do technical questions and all of that and evaluate your skill. So while that is true, they went during the, the sifting process of just seeing which person they present to the hiring manager, they will take the highest degree. In computer science, they look strictly at like your knowledge and what you know and how your experience essentially.
And if you're a hacker, you can get the better positions, right?
True. Yeah.
Without any degree.
We're good.
Can I?
Go ahead.
I would advise to research what your field requires or like how fast you want to go into the job, because I used to think like I want to go right after my bachelor's to my master's, and that was the goal. And then we had COVID, and even though COVID was a whole other deal, it was best that I did not go to grad school right after, because I have had so much work experience in other things that now I have a more clear image of what I want to do in master's. So just depending on what you feel, because some fields do require you to go to grad school right after, so you wouldn't want to wait. But like for social work, you can practice with your bachelor's, and then, I mean, it's almost been 5 years. I'm now doing the process for grad school, and it's like, this is the best time because those college applications for grad school are asking so much experience that I've had in the last 4 years.
Alrighty, guys. That will wrap it up for the panelists. I will also kind of introduce to all of you guys all the career paths. We're going to meet downstairs, and then we'll pray, and then, if I'm not mistaken, I think we'll all head downstairs together. So, go over the panelists again. We had Dr. Krolis Hanna. He was a pharmacist, a doctor of pharmacist or director of pharmacy. We have Mina Magid, commercial pilot. Bolib Shea, who was the licensed professional counselor. We have Bernice, which works with youth transition specialist for MNPS. We have Krolis Shahata here, who is a software engineer. And then we have Dr. Ihab Habib here, who is also an engineer and a doctor. Also used to be a professor too. So if you ever you have inspirations to teach, bring it up. And then we have Marina Saman, who is the urgent care physician assistant. Marina Gayed, who is women's health nurse. Mina Ohib, cardiovascular ICU nurse. We have Abram Masoud, who is a civil and environmental engineer. Fadi Hinin, physician assistant. Monica George, neurophysiologist. We have Bishoy Akram, physical therapist. Dr. Yusuf Sabit, medical doctor. Demiana Filimon, business analyst. We have Hedra Hanna, insurance underwriter. Sandra Gabriel, architect. Marina Yusuf Naguib, corporate attorney. Jermeen Tanas, we have content writer. Rami Saeed, he is a airline pilot. David Hanna is a construction project manager. Maria McCary is a counselor in training. Mina Mahrous is domestic violence detective. Matthew Fuad is a digital technology manager. Christine Isaac is a doctor of chiropractic medicine. Boutros Ayad is a doctor of dental surgery. Bishoy Greece is a medical physicist. Aziz Sadiq is pharmacy student and medical assistant. Mern Abseli is a dental school student. Me, we have Dr. Marina Agib, who is a optometrist. Bishoy Grant is a construction operation project manager. Marina Echek, software administrator and military veteran. We have Mario Meta, controls engineer. Makhail Nairuz, manufacturing engineer. And then Krolos Khalil is software control engineer. And so, listed everything, and we have more. I see more people in the audience too, so we'll get up to pray, and then we'll go downstairs.
Father, Son, the Holy Spirit, one God, Amen. Lord, thank you for bringing us here. Thank you for the community that you built for us here in Nashville and for raising us up to be good servants for you. Lord, please help us have fruit in our careers and help the next generation to continue to serve you well. St. Mary, St. Rena, St. Bishoy, and all the choir saints here, so we pray to you thankfully. Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name.